and things that are coming. But I want you, I understand that. But you also have to understand that one of the things about Scripture, the Most High Scripture is laced with past, present, and current in some subject matter, all intertwined into the narrative. So into Daniel chapter 12 is also a narrative that's germane to a time that is related to where we are right today.
Yes. Yes.
Let's read it and let's see what it says.
All right.
When that time comes, Michael, the great prince of champions, your people, will stand up, and there will be a time of distress unparalleled between the time they became a nation and that moment. Okay, please. I gotta get up again.
Man.
I gotta get up again. I gotta get up again. See, I should have never said. I should never said this.
Brought up, yeah.
There will be a time.
So it says, what he's underlining, since he's not a mic, it says, there will be a time of distress unparalleled between the time they became a nation and that moment.
Okay, now, the text goes on to say, at that time, your people will be delivered, everyone whose name is found written in the book. Now, many of those are sleeping in the dust of the earth will awaken, some to everlasting life and some to everlasting shame and abhorrence. Well, when is that? That's not current. That's the Messianic era. But before the Messianic era, there's a time parallel of distress. But you see, the problem is that we are living in distressed times, but not the kind that's unparalleled.
See, you need to get out of the book of Baruch, out of that apocryphal book too. You over there too right now. This is parallel. This is, it's piggybacking on each other. Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm going to say something too while we here. You know, you see in verse 4 right there, it says, but you.
Well, yes, I see it.
I want to say something. For all of y'all that really think that God is his name, why all y'all ancestors have the Most High's name attached to them? Danny, L, Rafi, L. I'm going to throw one out here. There's a young lady that watches us, Ken, Yah. All of these names that we are germane in the Masoretic text, they don't say Danny God. They say Danny L, because they're associating themselves with the Most High. They're pinning themselves to him. So to blow that off and say, okay, well, that's his name is God, then you got to address why your ancestors addressed him specifically. So that's just an observation there, because even if you scroll back up to verse 1, it says, Michael, all these particular people, Yoel. And matter of fact, I don't even think that the goat, Moshe, obviously, that's not his real name. That's the name that Paro's daughter gave him when she lifted him up out of the water. I'd love to ask that man when I meet him, what's your name? That would be an interesting question. You got all these people asking him about mitzvot, but what was the name that your mama gave you on the 8th day when you were circumcised in your flesh to make sure that you have the covenant, to make sure that you can lead these people? What did she call you? It's for those of you that think that names and of the Most High El don't mean anything.
Now watch this.
Go
now watch this. Watch this here.
Okay.
In Daniel.
All right.
So we know that we have a time that's unparalleled since the nation began, and there's going to be distress prior to go on. We are living in distressed times, but we're not living in unparalleled distressed times according to text.
You got to flip them two numbers. Not 58, but you're going to get there.
No, I think I want 58.
Because you're getting ready to go, many will rush here and there as knowledge increases.
Okay. When did the World Wide Web populate?
Not in the 50s.
Oh. Okay. Excuse me, I got that wrong.
You got to flip.
That was 1958.
No, it's 1985. 1985.
Excuse
That's
me.
why I said you got to flip them two numbers in the back. I just stole all your thunder. I'm so apologize.
No, that's okay. That's good.
All right. There we go.
Now,
Yeah, because most people are going to be like, what do you mean 1985?
Now, I told you that Daniel speaks to the past.
Mm-hmm.
He speaks to the present, and he speaks to the future.
Future, yeah.
But you, Daniel, keep these words secret and seal up the book until the time of the end. This is very important. Why is it important? Because everybody, and even in the Christian church, are talking about the end times.
End times, yeah.
Well, we're in the end times. Well, my question to you, do you know when the end times began? Because you've been talking about the end times long before 1985. And you've been talking about, well, Jesus can come anytime. Nah. First of all, he can't come. Number two, he's not coming. Number three, because he can't come. Number four, because he's not the one that's doing the redeeming. And that's all in our Hebrew text. Okay? Which I got so much on my plate to deal with this issue. But okay, let's get back.
He's like the Uber that never shows up.
Yeah.
He's coming.
Yeah.
He's coming. I see him. I see him in the cloud.
Yeah.
He's right over there. No, he's not.
You might want to call Lyft and find
Yeah,
out
you
if
might-
he's over there. He's not coming in Lyft either.
Right.
But you, Daniel, keep these words secret and seal up the book until the time of the end. Now, why did I put 1985 on the board?
Yes. Why did you?
Because, listen, he says, seal up the book until the time of the end. What's the rest of the word? Many will rush here and there as what happens?
As knowledge. Knowledge with a K increases.
Now, in 1985, the World Wide Web populated. When the World Wide Web populated, knowledge exploded.
Correct.
And to this very day, we are in a place where there is an instrument that's called Google.
Yeah.
And you can ask Google anything. And
sure
Google
can.
will point you in the right direction to find your answer. There isn't anything in your mind that you can think or conceive that the World Wide Web can't provide you knowledge of.
That's correct.
So that tells me that the time of the end began in 1985, not before. Now, if I take 1985 and subtract it from, and take the number and subtract the number of years in which that to this current, to 2023, I think it's what, about 35, 38 years, somewhere in there?
Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay, so we subtract that from the Most High's word that says 1,000 years is as a day, and a day is as 1,000 years. So if I take the number from 1985 to 2023, subtract that number from 1,000, we've got somewhere around 900 plus years still left in the end day. We have about 900 plus years that speak to the time of the end. So, with that being said, the question is if we roll this back,
and we're going back to verse, just so I can narrate for the folks that are on the podcast. We're going back to Daniel, chapter number 12, going back to verse 1. And it reads, as the ambassador is underlining, it says, when that time comes, Michael, the great prince who champions your people, will stand up. And there will be a time of distress unparalleled between the time they became a nation and that moment.
The moment of distress. So, if you think you know the Most High, but you're not able to acquiesce to the signs that he is purporting to you because you don't know him, and you're looking for Jesus Christ to come and deliver you out of this time of distress that's coming, and it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
Absolutely.
Listen, if the Most High said it's going to be a time of distress, it's going to be a time of distress.
It's going to come. Yep.
See? So if you're looking at the wrong thing, you're never going to be able to pay attention to what the Most High is doing. And what you need to do to prepare yourself for that time.
Correct.
Because if I go back to the text, it says, they that call upon the name of Yahweh will be saved. That text is germane to this time. And if you don't call upon the right name, you're not going to be saved when this time comes. Because I just showed you, your text does not give you the name, and for thousands and thousands of years, the Father's name has been missing. You've been calling him God and Jesus, as if the Father don't have a name. That's about as ignorant can be.
I'm sorry.
That's ignorant. Sean.
Oh,
Sean.
my gosh. Okay.
Sean.
Yes, sir.
Let's put this in practical text. Your name is Sean, right?
Yes, it is.
I say, Sean.
Yes, sir.
What's your father's name?
It is Grady.
No.
No, it's not.
His father.
No, it's Grady.
No. His father.
No, it's Grady.
No.
Wait a minute now. I can show you.
It can't be.
Why can't it be?
Your father, if you the son, by Greek, Hebrew, Eurocentric thought, your father can't have a name. You can have a name because you're the son, but your daddy can't have a name.
And see, that's the problem that we have, is you're going out and you're telling a bunch of people who don't know my father that his name, Sean's dad's name, is Father. And then when you see him, you should call him Father.
You should call him Father.
And he's going to be like, oh, I'm not your dad. I'm his dad. My name is Grady.
No, your name is Father.
Yeah, it's really just a kind of, I'm going to use a word here that's probably, you kids need to cover your ears. It's real asinine. That's what that is. I'm just going to say it. If y'all want to bleep that out, you can.
Does that make sense to you?
No.
So I just showed you the text in the Masoretic text out of the complete Jewish Bible that happens to be translated correctly.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, oh my goodness. Now, so what are we looking at in this day? We're looking at distress,
but not
unparalleled
distress.
So you might think that our ancestors being barbecued, being hung, and today laws being passed that are strictly against the melanated man as being distressed. They are.
Yes.
But they're not unparalleled.
Because in probably recent times, I would probably say that the atrocities that our ancestors went through, as far as when you look at the things that they did, Molech, and the things that they sacrificed their own children, the things that they endured, the punishments being under Nebuchadnezzar and being toted off. And matter of fact, you did a teaching on that where they went into the Colosseum and they were used for sport. You could say that was distress, but it wasn't.
But it wasn't unparalleled. So when the Most
yet.
High says there is going to be distress unparalleled between the time Israel became a nation and that moment, what moment? The moment of unparalleled distress. You haven't seen anything yet. And guess what? Guess what? You're not going to see it.
Well, let's flip this for a second.
You're not. No,
You're not in our time.
You're not going to see it.
No.
If my calculations are right, let's say 1985 is the beginning of the end time day, and 1,000 years is as a day with the Most High. We subtract and do the math from the time of 1985 to 2003. We got a number. We say take that number, subtract it from 1,000. We're somewhere around 900 and some odd years out in this day. You and I are not going to be here to see this unparalleled distress. However, you're going to witness something as these days progress, that the stress is going to be unparalleled within the context of your day.
I'm smiling from ear to ear like a Chester cat over here because you don't know how much, maybe you do, and I'm not saying that what you're saying is so parallel with what's in the book of Baruch, the second book of Baruch. It talks all about this, and like you said, your calculations are germane to what's written in there, because it really gets specific about what's happening during that time. And you're right, we won't be around to see this. We'll probably be resting and be one of those folks that the text is talking about.
Not unless the Most High is going to change you into Methuselah.
Well,
you ain't going to be around.
The way I was talking, I mean, shoot.
But here's my point. Here's my point. I'm talking about not knowing the Most High. Without knowing the misvotes, without knowing the Hebrew text, you think that this issue of climate control is a matter of something that can be fixed.
Yeah.
It can't be fixed.
No, it can't. And
it can't be fixed.
And it's a
go ahead. And it's affecting everything that pertains to human life.
Sure.
But it's part of what the Most High has said was going to happen.
Exactly. And that's what's funny about this whole entire narrative is that we see the Most High using the elements in the again, another issue to
and he always does. And he always does.
And it's not men that he will use the elements of the earth, earthquakes, thunder, lightning, hailstorms. You've seen the plagues that he's done.
Fire, rain.
Why is it all of a sudden when he goes to sleep like Rip Van Winkle for 400 years and then wakes up in the New Testament, he forgot how to use the elements? Oh, now we're just a globe just spinning around and just the atmosphere and all the all this extra stuff that's here that's just happened to just be happening because we've elevated our mental capacity to understand that he doesn't have control over the elements. He did before at one time, but now that he doesn't, we can make these things.
Whoa. He said, "Peace be still," and the waves quieted. Really? Really?
Right. It's even over there too. Even in that. So why are we all of a sudden think, oh well, it's climate change and we have to do something about it? Why don't you figure that you're not in control of that?
Listen, I hope you all understand our discussion this evening, because this has been. I wake up in the morning thinking about these things. I wake up in the morning and in the middle of the night when I can't go to sleep, and the Most High rehearses these things in my mind. My people do not know me. If they knew me, they would fear me. They don't even know that when the wind blows, and it blows hard, the wind is only acting on my command. Mm-hmm. They don't know when a hurricane number 4 or 5 sweeps across the Atlantic Ocean into the shores of the east coast of these United States. They don't know that that hurricane is functioning at my behest. They don't know that when the water begins to fall and floods rise at such a number that has never ever been recorded before in places where it hasn't ever happened before but now is a frequent thing, they don't even know that the rain is acting on my request. They don't know that in the mountains and in the hills and in various places around the country where I send lightning strikes that start fires that burn up thousands and thousands and thousands of miles of what down into where you live, they don't know that the lightning strike is acting at my behest. They don't know that all of these elements are part of my judgment. They don't know that in this country that's called the United States of America, I have treated this country in the same context that I have treated Paro. I have hardened this country's heart toward you so that you're never, ever going to get justice in this exiled nation that you live in. And you're going to continue to suffer, because I said in my word that in this exile, many of you would perish, you would die. I told you that. And why did I tell you that? I told you that because you and your ancestors refused to honor me and worship me and me alone. You have subjected yourself to a state of idolatry. You have told people that my laws and my rules are ineffective and will not bring you to the goal. Therefore, we need to do something else. Don't listen to the mitzvot. You have said that. So consequently, you don't recognize that I have unleashed my judgment upon you, and I'm not going to relent. But yet and still there is an unparalleled time of distress that's coming. If you think this is bad, you haven't seen nothing yet.
Absolutely. I'm going to piggyback on what you're saying. There's you're familiar with the late great Dick Gregory, right?
Dick Gregory?
Dick Gregory.
Yes.
He had said something on a particular podcast, and you go look this up. I think this is on a Black Real TV on YouTube. Dick Gregory said this. He says, and I have to research this a little bit further, but he says, do you realize that the path of the hurricanes follows the same path as the transatlantic slave trade? And I need to do some research to figure out, and it kind of makes a little bit of a sense, because if the hurricanes are coming through a particular season, then, and they're always hitting during this particular time, then these people that were bringing these folks over in these slave ships would have been going around where these hurricanes were.
Yes.
So I need to do a little bit more research to see what Brother Gregory was saying about that, to say, okay, were hurricanes germane to that time? Were they around prior to the transatlantic
slave trade?
Yeah. And from the evidence is that, from what I'm seeing thus far, that they weren't. Is that hurricanes are happening, and because of what you were talking about, is that the Most High has control, and they're following the same path as the transatlantic slave trade.
Do you know, and I might have my information wrong,
But I got to go research that.
There was a city, I can't remember the city, the state that it was in. I want to say Colorado, but I'm not sure. But there was a city a couple years ago, and in the state, this city caught fire and burned to the ground. Up underneath the city was the graves of our ancestors. And you think it was a coincidence? There's judgment in the land, my sisters and brothers.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you something. You don't need somebody to be a prophet and speak in tongues to you and say, yay, 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 yay. You don't need that. You just need to stick your head into your scriptures and hear what the one who has a name called Yahweh, El, of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, hear what he has to say about the end times and the end of days. And then you'll get to know who he is and recognize that, I'm sorry, and you got to put it in this perspective. The Most High, El, Yahweh, ain't no joke.
Agreed.
And if you want to play with him, do so at your own behest with a warning. You can play with toys. You can play with men. You can play with your car. You can play with all those things that you have make a hobby out of. The one thing that you can never, ever play with is you cannot play with the Most High.
Agreed.
He will turn you over into having what your text talks about, a reprobate mind, where you will believe a lie. And that lie will be your demise. Well, this has been Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr.
and Sean Appleton. And this has been Yahweh's Exiled Empire and Hebrews in Exile. Shalom.